Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another Turbo E46 video. This video is going to be answering the question, should you turbocharge your E46 M54 B30 or B25 engine? A couple things I'm going to go over in this video is cost, how much power you can actually make, how reliable it is, and a couple other things. I'll kind of dive into it. I'm probably going to ramble, and I'll think of more things as they come. I also got a gimbal for my phone, so I'm kind of testing that out. It's very nice, keeps it from being shaky. So let's get right into it. So this is my turbocharge project. If you haven't seen it or aren't following my channel, it is a CX Racing turbo kit for actually an E46. So that's why the wastegate is routed this way. It's obviously not finished. I'm pretty much on the last few steps of finishing it up. So I think actually what I'm going to do is talk about prices first, what things cost, how much. A good start is showing how much my stuff cost. So if you were wondering, I actually paid $350 for the full CX Racing turbo kit. I got it used with about 500 miles on it, which is a really, really good deal. It's about $1,700 or so shipped new. The only thing I did have to get for it was an oil feed, an oil drain line, new gaskets, and I still have to go pick up some hardware, and then a couple other things like just vacuum lining and stuff like that. It did come with a catch can and all that other good stuff. So that was really, really good. That's a big chunk of change off of it. The oil feed cost me about $55. It just ties in right there. You can see it ties into the, it goes right off the banjo bolt right there and feeds straight. Obviously I'm going to change this right here. I just had that for now. And then the oil drain is just an eBay, I think a 10 AN oil drain with, see, I got it welded to the oil pan. $30 setup for that. Originally, I got a manual boost controller and I paid $20 for that off eBay. But going with the True Boost setup, that was $110. The actual gauge holder is about 115 new, and it's actually on back order, so you can't buy it right now. The gauges themselves are about $100 each. The wiring is probably going to be about $50 for both, and then a new sensor will probably be $50. And then the actual solenoid for boost control for that boost controller is $100. So it's probably going to be around $300, which is a really, really good deal considering that the True Boost gauge itself is about $340. I'm also going to be running an oil cooler. I got this piece for $80 used. It is just a piece that goes onto the oil filter, as you can see. It is an oil filter cap with AN pieces so that I can run. This extra piece actually is for an oil pressure gauge, and then these two are for the oil cooler. I still have to order the oil cooler. I said about $80 for that. Injectors are a big one. I have these for right now, but I think I'm going to upgrade. I had these from a previous project. They were about $150, but I want to go to 1,000 cc or bigger, I think, because I do want to run E85, and right now those are 42.5 pound injectors. So they're a little small for the setup that I'm running, but it is what I had laying around because this was supposed to be a budget build. Right now I'm still really, really low on the budget, which is pretty awesome. I do have a clutch in it. I have the Stage 2 FX clutch kit. It is just an eBay one. I'm using the stock fuel pressure regulator. I actually have an adjustable one I got off eBay that is gonna go in if I have any issues with the stock fuel pressure regulator. For intake manifold, it's actually in the M50 intake manifold with maximum PSI hosing. So it has the ICV hosing, a silicone boot. I have the Seems Legit Garage M50 intake manifold adapter kit, which comes with the plugs for the head, an adapter plate for the throttle body, and it comes with templates to port the head. Mine is not ported. I have some other stuff on this car that helps, but I'm not going to get too much into it. Cost-wise, I am definitely under $2,000, which is really, really good. What you should expect is probably at least $4,000 to $5,000. If you can't afford that, you should probably not try, because it is going to cost a lot more than you think. I got really lucky with that used turbo kit. You can get cheaper alternatives like a cast iron turbo manifold. This one is a tubular manifold. It's about $400 or $500 new by itself, which is pretty good for what it is. But you can get cast manifolds for about $100. You can get some eBay turbos for about $100, and you can fabricate the rest yourself and keep it to $2,000–$3,000. The clutch is about $300. That is a must because the stock clutches suck. The fuel pressure regulator stock has known to be pretty good. There's a lot of things you don't expect, but if you chart everything out and you try and get the prices, I'm sure you could easily do it with used parts around $3 to $4 grand. So essentially, other than what I've shown you, I've talked about the boost and AFR. The boost gauge is pretty much needed for any turbo build. It actually doesn't need to be there for it to run, but you need to monitor that because it's very important. And a wideband is very important for tuning and for monitoring the AFRs and making sure your car is running correctly and it is getting the correct amount of fuel and air. There are some cheaper alternatives for that as well. You can get a wideband for about $100. I can't talk about how good it would be. And you can get some cheap boost gauges, $20–$30. I think the CX Racing kit might come with a boost gauge, but I cannot speak on that fully. You do not need to run a boost controller. You can run off wastegate. I don't like the CX Racing wastegate. I don't trust it. I've heard they have failed, and that kind of sucks, but I'm going to use it for now, watch my boost, and try not to beat on it too hard till I can buy a better wastegate. And a big thing for most different cars is tuning. That starts to get expensive. Sometimes you need to go full standalone. With these cars, you really don't. Pretty much 99 through 05, you're good. The late models, so late 03 to like 05 and I think 06, don't quote me, I think it ended in 05, the E46 chassis, at least for the non-M. Very difficult to tune, a lot more expensive. The program is about $200, I believe. To get any tuning that is worth it, I don't know much. It's called MS45. That is the DME or ECU, as most of you would know it as. This is a 2002, so it is running on MS43. MS43 was, I believe, 01 to early 03, and it is awesome. It is super easy to tune. They have pretty much everything online that you need to know. If you know how to tune a car, even if you don't, you can figure it out. It's really not that hard. It's just a lot of patience. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of trying to figure things out and not cutting corners, making sure the car is running correctly. You can look more into that on your own. Obviously, I am learning as well. This is my first turbo build, and it's really not that difficult. You just got to take your time. If you're expecting to do it in a weekend on your first try, I will tell you probably not. Probably not going to happen because it is a little bit of a pain just clearance wise, and I'll go over some of the issues I've had with the turbo build a little later, but right now I want to finish up what I'm talking about now before I go on another tangent. Anyways, tuning, pretty much free. If you can figure it out yourself, you have a computer at home, you have an ALDL cable, so pretty much a OBD2 to USB, and you understand basic wiring. It's not that difficult. You can actually pin out the wideband if you bought one that is compatible with the DME. You can actually pin it out, so when you are data logging, you can see the AFRs off of your wideband, which is really cool. I think you can do that with some boost gauges maybe. There's a bunch of capabilities, and for it being a completely stock engine management system with no actual modification or wiring needed to be done, it is incredibly awesome. It really reduces the price and hassle. Just take your time, look up MS43. If you have like a 99 to early 2001, or I think maybe just 2000, you have MS42, which is also capable, but not as capable as MS43 as far as I know. Now, reliability and power capabilities. So these engines are actually very capable. I am not doing head studs or head gasket until I have issues, which is not the smartest thing. I might upgrade when I go higher boost. Right now I'm shooting for 10 PSI or so, and that should put me around the 350 wheel horsepower range. That's kind of a broad number considering there are so many different things that affect how much power you put to the wheels, drivetrain loss, type of dyno, you know, stuff like that. but from what I've seen from other cars, I should be around the 400 crank power range, which is very, very good for a $300 engine. So this is rebuilt, so the compression numbers should be good. I do want to compression test it again to be sure. I bought it rebuilt from a friend, and I trust him. He does really good work. He works at a body shop as well. He's very trustworthy. He's a good guy. I've bought a lot of things from him, so I trust him on that. So hopefully this engine is good to me, but I can add some links in the description of unopened. That means stock head gasket, stock studs. The head has never been off the car. The head is the same. No internals have been touched. I've seen 600 wheel horsepower. Jack De La Vega, if I'm saying his name correctly, is at around the 600 wheel horsepower range, and he has been over 500 wheel horsepower for more than 4 years. And that is awesome. I know of at least 3 different people who hit above 500 wheel horsepower unopened, which is crazy. But when you're making 500 wheel horsepower in a 3,000 pound car and it lasts, that is insane, especially a capable chassis like this. The engine is awesome. So to say you could probably, if you do it on a budget, you can probably spend $3,000 to $4,000, maybe even less depending on what you get, and make 350 wheel horsepower reliably. And keep in mind, this is low boost. This is, you're making 15, 16 pounds of boost is around the 400 or 500 wheel horsepower range on E85. The 8 to 10 PSI boost range on E85, depending on your setup, should put you around 300 wheel horsepower to 400. This is turbocharged. Superchargers work a little differently. They take a little more boost, and they don't produce as much power from what I've seen. A lot of the supercharged setups usually don't break 300 wheel horsepower unless they're on E85 and above 10 PSI, or at least maybe 13, 14 PSI. Cams and very good headers is important. I don't recommend the supercharger setup if you're shooting for big power. Power band is great. They can be really, really fast, but it is a lot more expensive because you do have to dive into building the engine, and it is very, very difficult to push big numbers on a budget. Whereas you can get a Chinese choo-choo boy and make 400 to 500 horsepower for under $8,000. $8,000 is if you're buying quality, known parts, or just buying things new. I recommend getting things used, just checking them out, making sure they're good, and going from there because you're gonna get the best prices. I like buying stuff new. It's cool. I like getting new stuff. It's nice and shiny. It's clean. It ends up looking used and dirty within a week of usage, or even just sitting on my shelf. So I end up buying used parts, and I get them pretty much half off. Imagine a half off sale on everything. Just find things that are lightly used or not damaged or a little bit and repairable. It save you a lot of money, and doing the work yourself is going to save you even more. All I'm saying only works if you're doing it yourself. You can tack on another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 if you're having somebody else do all of the work. As for tuning, like I said, it is free if you do it yourself. The maximum you're going to pay is around $1,500. That is dyno tuned by like the best person shooting for big power. That's on the stock engine management system. I doubt you'll ever touch that price range. Expect to pay $500 to $1,000 to have it professionally tuned, either from somewhere else or dyno tune nearby. There's a lot of good people online that can help you tuning if you're doing it yourself, and there's a lot of people that know what they're doing, and you can pay them, and they'll help you every step of the way, and they'll do the tuning for you. All you have to do is data log. They have pretty good knock sensors, so it's pretty easy to tune on the street. I know a lot of street setups that make 400 or 500 wheel horsepower. So I know it's a lot of talking, but hopefully you're getting some good advice from. There's just so many misconceptions about these engines, like they're full aluminum, you're going to have head lift. That's completely untrue. If your engine hasn't been catastrophically overheated or has horrible blow-by or any other big issues, it is most likely going to hold up to the boost. The N54, which is a different engine but a similar design in terms of the block, it's full aluminum as well. It may be made a different way, but it is similar enough that you shouldn't have issues. The issues you run into is when you're overheating the engine or you're running way too much boost. These are stout engines. I've seen years and years of abuse, boost, just beating, and you're talking about drifting. You're talking about bone stock engines drifting. Head gasket and studs are recommended. You do want to sleeve the threads. You want to do it right if you're going to take the head off. If not, if it hasn't been opened and if everything is good, you should be good for at least 300 wheel horsepower. No problem all day. I know a lot of people don't feel safe with that, and it's completely understandable. Things do go wrong. But for me, I want to push unopened because I've seen up to 600 wheel horsepower reliably. It all depends on how good the tune is, if you use the right parts, and getting lucky with not getting failures. I've seen good turbos blow. I've seen cheap turbos last. I'm talking about the 3.0, so the 330. The B25, you can pretty much take the same way since it is the same block. It has different internals. The B25 is nice because it will rev a little higher safely, but it is going to make less torque and it's going to make a little less power with the boost that you give into it. But you can still make, 350 and get close to that 400 range with a similar setup. Like I said, this is actually a B25 engine with 3.0 internals and 3.0 cams. And it is an E46 kit. It is an E36 clutch. So if you do have trouble actually finding parts for the M54, E36 parts do fit. Double check fitment. There is tons of good forums and good pages on Facebook that you can check. If you can think of it, it has probably been done before. So don't think you're alone. That's what's awesome about these cars is back when they were first introduced, there wasn't much support, but now there is. If you can think of it, like I said, it's probably been done, which means there's always somebody there to help you, and there's always extra information. So keep that in mind when you're looking to build one of these. I hope this was very helpful for you, or at least pushed you towards either boosting or not boosting it, and hopefully gave some perspective. I obviously still need some parts to go. There's not much left. I didn't touch on, I bought this turbo blinker for $40. I bought all the vacuum lines, all the fittings, all the hardware and everything for about $80 all in all. That is my turbo manifold. I didn't structure this video as well as I wanted to. It was kind of a last minute thing. It's a lot of me ranting, but I hope it was a lot of good information for you guys who are just getting into these cars or had an E46 for a while but really is looking into modifying or pushing some more power. This engine comes with 189 horsepower stock. It has 3.0 internal, so it should be pushing around 225 or so horsepower to the crank, and then you add a Chinese choo-choo boy and you're increasing it to 300 to 400 wheel horsepower, 400 to 500 crank horsepower. It's an insane boost, especially when you consider paying only $2,000. That's incredible. Hopefully you found this information useful. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any tips for me or you have any comments about the gimbal I'm using, just let me know. It helps out. I'm here to help you guys. I just want to spread the M54 love. If you have any questions, you can add me on Facebook. It's the same name as my YouTube. I answer most questions that are sent to me, and if I don't know the answer, I probably know somebody who does, and I can send you their way. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like. Comment if you like this kind of video or if you have any questions. Like I said, I'm probably repeating myself. It is like 1 in the morning. I went to work. I ended up getting off early, so I decided to make this video. Hopefully I went over everything I wanted to.